So spend some time on the deck, and before I just jump into it, I thought it might be useful to kind of go over my approach to creating one of these decks. So, I've done this several times, starting from scratch, and I've kind of developed an approach that I've used with some success, and I think you'll see what I'm trying to do as I go through this. All right, so the way that I see it, I think the best presentation have really 6 common traits. So the first is starting with this big undeniable change that creates stakes, naming the enemy, teasing Nirvana, position capabilities as magic for slaying monsters, presenting best evidence, and being clear about what's next. And I'm going to walk into each of one of these. So here's the first one. This is the undeniable change creating stakes. And at the beginning of any presentation, the prospect is thinking this. They're thinking, we've gotten along fine without whatever they're selling, and we'll always be fine without it. And so our whole job is to convince someone to take action. And there has to be a fundamental change in their mind to be able to say, I'm going to change the way that I'm doing something today. And so to overcome that, this is what we do. So we demonstrate that the world has changed in such a fundamental, undeniable way that they have to change too, and that there's stakes if they don't. And so to be believed, this change must be 1, undeniable, 2, happening independent of whether we exist or not, and 3, giving rise to stakes. People are going to be on a side because of this. And so at this point, once we go through it, we really hope that they're kind of nodding their heads and saying, yeah, this is exactly what I see. The second is naming the enemy, right? So they're thinking, I have a bunch of security/IT products already, and I'm wondering, is this really a unique problem that hasn't been solved? They also think, okay, great, now they're going to start selling to me. And so to overcome that, what you do is you show them it's not their problem, it's all of ours. And we're inviting them to join our revolution to fight this common enemy and show both how and why all of the previous approaches have failed. And so this enemy's got to be something that's big enough of a problem to solve. It's a product of a fast and massive change, and it's knowingly underserved. We want them to agree that this is a nagging, huge problem whose time has come. Teasing Nirvana. Okay, so now at this point, they're saying, yep, I agree, this is a losing battle. How do I win? And so we give them kind of a glimpse at the ideal state, at this Nirvana, the state of winning in the new world. So what the world looks like when they have solved this problem. And so it's important to note that winning isn't just having our product. Really, it's the future that's possible thanks to what we're doing. And here, it's really a case where people, a lot of times, will just start showing product and capabilities. But before we get to that, we want to show context and why they matter. And one of the ways to do this, too, is to put things in terms of, what we realized is that what we really needed was this. And putting it in those terms. And generally at this place, we're asking, does this make sense to you? Now, capabilities being magic to slay monsters, I really like that one. They're thinking, right, so if I had a genie and a lamp, what would I ask for? What does the solution look like? And so this is where we kind of show them exactly what they would need to get to that Nirvana state. And, imagine if you had and what you'd be able to do, and then give examples. I love at this point not just simply giving a comprehensive list of all the things you could do, but leaving some of that out and hoping and really trying to get them to answer that question. If you get to a point where they're coming up with use cases and ideas and have you thought of this, that's when you've won. So best evidence. This one's a little bit tough for us right now, but this is where you do some things like customer testimonials, any internal data. Really what you're trying to get to is and solves the problem that I think I have. Show me who's already benefited from it. We don't really have that yet. We don't have the customer testimonials yet. We'll get there. We need some proof, and we need to show the product. the last one is pretty obvious, but it's worth saying, which is being clear about what's next. Right? They're thinking, this is all great, but I'm hungry. Is it lunchtime yet? And I just saw a squirrel walk by. Just think of all the things that are competing for the attention of the people we're talking to. So I think we need to be abundantly clear about what we want to do next and what we want them to do next. And hopefully get to the point where they're saying, hey, let's bring in some of the larger team and dig into the tech. Yeah. Okay. So let's jump right in. This is a little technique I like to do. It just shows that you've actually done your homework, that this is something for them, that you're thinking about them. Just throwing a logo there. So in this case, let's just pretend we're talking to Tesla. All right. So let's jump in. All right. So the way that we see it, the lives of IT and security professionals have changed dramatically. And so not too long ago, there was a time when what IT and security teams were responsible for were very clear, right? So at work, employees had things like laptops, desktops, maybe some mobile phones, right? And so these devices would authenticate. A directory service would determine privileges, and then they could gain access to corporate data, things like databases and files. So in this not too distant past, organizations had control over access, right? And then, of course, everything changed. And really, the way that we see it, there are two factors at play that were representing this monumental shift in IT and security. And first were the prevalence of cloud and mobile apps. So this forever changed the definition of access. Anyone could access corporate data from any device. It really removed this line between home and work, as work is no longer a 9-to-5 thing. And it, of course, a result of this is it created an infinitely larger attack surface. Now the second huge shift has to do with IoT devices. So now there are thousands of always on, always connected smart devices. And these are generally not that secure. They weren't really built with security in mind. And they're not always managed. And so what this does is they introduce new threats to our networks. So there's been this huge explosion in the number of devices connecting to the internet, and these are just a few of these more recent ones. My personal favorite here is this one over here, which is the Smart Portable Fish Finder. This one over here attaches to your propane tank to let you know how much gas you have left. This is a Smart Carry-On. And listen, I bring this up not to really just highlight the absurdity of devices that are connecting to our networks, but to highlight the fact that everything that can be connected will be connected. This trend is here to stay. We can't really unring this bell. And when you think about it, IT and security still have that same task, which is manage and secure every device. And really think about that responsibility. And so, you'll have to excuse me here because I'm sure everyone uses Equifax and their decks here and say that they could stop the breach, but that's not my point here. Instead, what I'm saying is that here's what's important about the Equifax breach. So they had a cybersecurity team of 225 people, and they're a huge, huge target. And think of everything that team did to keep every endpoint secure. And a single vulnerability on one server led to the biggest breach in history. And just think of that. You do all you can every day to keep information secure. And missing a single vulnerability leads the CEO to blame the breach on one individual for the biggest data breach in history. And so when you ask the question, how many devices are in your organization, we always ask this, and I think there's two things to it, right? So one is, why do you want to know? And the second is, why is it so hard to determine? This is a really hard problem. And so why is every device important? Well, first, they have access to corporate information. The flip side of that, though, is that every device is also a node in a cyber attack. We think there's 6 essential questions that you have to answer about every device, right? So, is the device known and managed? Where is the device? How relevant is it? Is the core software up to date? what additional code is in the system, and what credentials are applicable. So when we think about managing devices, really there's 4 different categories, right? First, there are asset systems, things like AD, mobile device management, and cloud and virtualization. There's identity systems, so a couple of examples are SSH keys, remote desktop, and identity and access management. There's network systems, things like network access control, firewalls, vulnerability assessment solutions. And then there are agent-based systems. These are things like endpoint detection response, DevOps, and patch management products. And the thing is, all of the information is there, but there's no way to get a single view and to cross-correlate. What we really want to do is be able to connect the dots. And so, how do we get to a unified view, right? So, what we decided and what we kind of learned is that you can solve this problem with adapters. You can integrate with the existing systems using APIs and system UIs. This really creates an abstraction layer to devices. It gives you that universal point of view for devices, which results in visibility and control. But to get there, there's a couple of challenges, right? So first is correlation. We need to know when 2 adapters are identifying the same device. You've got to have good information to get that. And so what we've done is we've built this solution that queries for all current devices and does the cross-correlation. And it does this by leveraging the adapter's ability to execute commands in a comprehensive way. The second piece here is discovery. So how do we identify devices that aren't managed by any of your systems, right? How do we find those? And so what we've done is we've made your devices basically a sniffer with in-memory code so we can identify rogue devices. And that way, it's an ongoing effort to decrease the number of unmanaged devices. Now, if you're able to do this and solve both of these things, there's a few results. And these are just examples. There's probably a million of them, and I'm sure you'll have some that I haven't even heard yet, but just a few ideas if you're able to solve those challenges. So first is easily validating the security policies across many systems and devices, right? So this idea of cross-control system validation. So let's find out the difference between a broken laptop and something that has erased its AV, or testing that your firewall or DLP solution are working like they should. I think it's probably pretty clear what you can do with patch management, right? So you can eliminate those blind spots on your network. Another thing you can do is increase the deployment of your security products. I mean, obviously, you can only secure what you can see. And if you're able to kind of see everything, then you can increase the coverage footprint for your security products that you already have. And so this is a look at what we've built. This is the device management center here. And so our approach has been to build this robust infrastructure that allows ease of adding adapters with the REST API. It's built with Python. I've got to get deeper on this one, but I'll do that when I'm in Israel. Same with this one. Talking about how it's deployed. And then just a quick look at the company. So we were founded in June of this year. Our headquarters in New York City, R&D's in Tel Aviv. And we raised a $4 million seed round with YL Ventures, with Vertex and Emerge, and our company is started by cyber experts with elite Army intelligence backgrounds. This is the part of the deck that I think needs a lot more meat, but you gotta start somewhere. So that's where I started. I will stop there.